Buenos días, buenas tardes o buenas noches. Saludos desde Cuba. Bienvenido a la clase número 21 en este tu canal Learn Spanish Easy and Fast. Hoy aprenderemos a usar los adjetivos posesivos, los pronombres posesivos y hablaremos sobre posesión en general. No te pierdas esta clase, está muy buena. Let's start. Comencemos. Okay guys, today we are going to talk about possession in Spanish. And here we have a table in which we have the possessive adjectives in English, the possessive adjectives in Spanish, the possessive pronouns in English, and the possessive pronouns in Spanish. Luckily for us, the rules are pretty much the same for English and in Spanish with the possessive adjective and with the possessive pronouns. The possessive adjectives in English and in Spanish, they go before the noun, before the object or before the animal that I am possessing. And the possessive pronouns go in the end of the sentence. So I say in English, for example, my house is big. And I say in Spanish, mi casa es grande. I use in this case mi because mi is the translation of my for the singular way. Okay? In the case that I have more than one house, I can say in English, my houses are big, and I say in Spanish, mis casas son grandes. Mis casas son grandes. In English, I only have my, but in Spanish, I have a singular word and a plural word. So I say mis casas son grandes. It doesn't matter if the noun that I am talking about, if the thing that I possess is a masculine noun or a feminine noun. Either way, I say mi or mis. I can say, for example, este es mi apartamento or estos son mis apartamentos. Okay, apartamento is masculine, so it doesn't matter. Why do I tell you this? Because in the plural way, we do have difference when it is feminine and when it is masculine. So we have the possessive pronoun in English, mine. Mine goes in the end of the sentence, all right? And we have the possessive pronouns in Spanish, mío for the singular and the masculine, mía for the singular and the feminine, míos for the plural and masculine, and mías for the feminine and plural. So I say, for example, esta casa es mía. Casa is feminine and is singular, so I say esta casa es mía. But I say este apartamento es mío. Apartamento ends in an O, so it's masculine and it's feminine because it's only one apartment. So I say este apartamento es mío. I can also say este es el mío, or in the case of house, esta es la mía. If I know that I'm talking about houses, I can say esta es la mía, la because it's feminine, or este es el mío, el because it's masculine, all right? It depends. If I know that I am talking about houses or I am talking about apartments, I can say esta es la mía or este es el mío. Or I can say esta es mía or este es mío. It depends on the context, all right? It depends on the situation. And I can also say estas casas son mías or estos apartamentos son míos. Or estas son las mías or estos son los míos. All right, it happens the same with all the possessive adjectives and the possessive pronouns. The rules are the same. Then we have in English the possessive adjective your, and in Spanish I have tú for the singular, tus for the plural. So I say, for example, esta es tu casa, or estas son tus casas, or este es tu apartamento, or estos son tus apartamentos. In this case, to the person that I am talking to, I am being casual, I am being, I feel close to the person I am talking to. I don't want to be very formal, so I use the word tú or tus. But if I want to be very formal to the person that I am talking to, because maybe it's an important person, because maybe it's an old person, I don't know, I want to be formal, and I say, esta es su casa, or estas son sus casas, or este es su apartamento, or estos son sus apartamentos, because I want to be very formal. All right, it's the same but formal. All right, and in English I have the possessive pronoun yours, and in Spanish I have the possessive pronouns tuyo or tuya if I am being friendly, casual, and informal, and singular. Right, I say, for example, este apartamento es tuyo, okay, masculine, or esta casa es tuya. Or I can say, estos apartamentos son tuyos, or estas casas son tuyas. But if I want to be very formal to the person that I am talking to, I can say, este apartamento es suyo, or esta casa es suya. Or in the plural way, estos apartamentos son suyos, or estas casas son suyas. Okay, guys? Also, we have, in English, we have the possessive adjective her. And we have the and in Spanish, the translation, it would be su and sus. Here, it repeats the same possessive adjectives, but in this case, I am not being informal or formal. In this case, this is the possessive adjectives that we have for when we are talking about something that belongs to a woman, right, or to a girl, to somebody who is a female person. So I say, for example, esta es su casa, this is her house, or estas son sus casas. All right, it doesn't matter if it's masculine or feminine. I can say, este es su apartamento, or estos son sus apartamentos. And we have the possessive pronouns, in the possessive pronoun in English, hers, that goes in the end of the sentence. And in Spanish, we have suyo, suya, and for the plural, suyos and suyas. Again, I can say, este apartamento es suyo, the apartment is hers, or esta casa es suya, this apartment is hers. There is a difference when we are talking about a masculine noun or a feminine noun. Or I can say, estos apartamentos son suyos, or estas casas son suyas. Okay? We also have another way to talk about possession, another structure to talk about possession in Spanish. And I can say, for example, este apartamento es de ella, or esta casa es de ella, or estos apartamentos son de ella, or estas casas son de ella. It's the same if I say, este apartamento es suyo, or este apartamento es de ella, or esta casa es suya, or esta casa es de ella, or estos apartamentos son suyos, or estos apartamentos son de ella, or estas casas son suyas, or estas casas son de ella. It's exactly the same idea. And the same with the next possessive adjective. In English it would be his, but in Spanish the translation it would be su or sus. In Spanish we don't have a difference between her and his. Is the same, are the same words, are the same possessive adjectives, and they are the same possessive pronouns. So I can say, for example, este es su apartamento, or estos son sus apartamentos, or esta es su casa, or estas son sus casas. Or I can also say, este apartamento es de él, or esta casa es de él, or estos apartamentos son de él, or estas casas son de él. And the same with the possessive pronouns that I use them at the end of the sentence. I can say, este apartamento es suyo, or I can also say, este apartamento es de él, or esta casa es suya, or with the other structure, esta casa es de él, or estos apartamentos son suyos, estos apartamentos son de él, or estas casas son suyas, or estas casas son de él. It's exactly the same idea. And in English, we have the next possessive adjective. It would be its, when I'm talking the possession of things or objects in English. And in Spanish, again, it would be su or sus. In English, we are not allowed to use a possessive pronoun at the end of the sentence, but in Spanish we can do it. It's allowed. So I can use suyo, suya, suyos, or suyas to talk about the possession of something in Spanish. However, it's not very natural to use them in this situation when it is the possession of a thing, the possession of the object. So I better use the other structure. I can say, for example, esta es la ventana de mi casa. Or I can say, estas son las ventanas de mi casa. It would be better to use this structure when I'm talking about the possession of two objects in Spanish. Now, let's practice, let's learn the possessive adjectives and the possessive pronouns in the plural in Spanish. And in English, the first one that we have is our. And in Spanish, we have, for the translation of our, nuestro for the masculine and singular, nuestra for the feminine and singular, nuestros for the masculine and plural, and nuestras for the feminine and plural. And I can say, for example, este es nuestro apartamento. I put it before the word apartamento, before the noun. Este es nuestro apartamento, or esta es nuestra casa, or estos son nuestros apartamentos, or estas son nuestras casas. It's exactly the same if I say este apartamento es de nosotros, or esta casa es de nosotros, or estos apartamentos son de nosotros, or estas casas son de nosotros. It's exactly the same idea. Or I can also use nosotras, of course. If I am a woman and I want to say we, but I am a woman and the group is only composed by women, I can use, of course, nosotras. All right? And in English, we have the possessive pronoun ours that goes at the end of the sentence. And in Spanish, in this case, we have the same words. We have nuestro, nuestra, nuestros, and nuestras. So in this case, I can use nuestro, nuestra, nuestros, and nuestras at the end of the sentence as well, because they work as possessive pronouns as well. And I can say, este apartamento es nuestro, or este apartamento es de nosotros, or esta casa es nuestra, or esta casa es de nosotros, or estos apartamentos son nuestros, or estos apartamentos son de nosotros, or estas casas son nuestras, or estas casas son de nosotros. It is exactly the same idea. In English, I have the possessive adjective your in the plural way, and in Spanish, again, we have su and sus. So I can say, este es su apartamento, or estos son sus apartamentos, or esta es su casa, or estas son sus casas. And I can also say, and it's exactly the same idea, este apartamento es de ustedes, or esta casa es de ustedes, or estos apartamentos son de ustedes, or estas casas son de ustedes. It's exactly the same idea. And of course, I can use possessive pronouns that go at the end of the sentence. So I can say, este apartamento es suyo, or I can also say, and it is exactly the same, este apartamento es de ustedes, or esta casa es suya, or esta casa es de ustedes, or estos apartamentos son suyos, or estos apartamentos son de ustedes, or estas casas son suyas, or estas casas son de ustedes. And finally, we have in English the possessive adjective there. And in Spanish, the translation, one more time, it would be su and sus. I can say, esta es su casa, or estas son sus casas, or este es su apartamento, or estos son sus apartamentos. Or I can say, esta casa es de ellos, or esta casa es de ellas, or estas casas son de ellos, or estas casas son de ellas. Or with apartamento, the same, este apartamento es de ellos, or este apartamento es de estos apartamentos son de ellos, or estas casas son de ellos, or estas casas son de ellas. Or I can use possessive pronouns that go at the end of the sentence. I can say, este apartamento es suyo, or este apartamento es de ellos, or este apartamento es de ellas, or esta casa es suya, or esta casa es de ellos, or esta casa es de ellas. Or I can say, estos apartamentos son suyos. Or I can also say, estos apartamentos son de ellos, or estos apartamentos son de ellas. Or I can say, estas casas son suyas, or I can say, estas casas son de ellos, or estas casas son de ellas. It is exactly the same idea. Ahora es momento de poner en práctica todo lo que hemos aprendido en clase. Déjame en los comentarios algunas oraciones en las cuales uses adjetivos posesivos y otras oraciones en las cuales uses pronombres posesivos. Además, si tienes cualquier duda o pregunta, déjala también en los comentarios. Es todo, amigos. Recuerda darme un me gusta, suscríbete y no te olvides de darle a la campanita. Nos vemos en la clase número 22. Adiós.